Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to another live episode of Quaid-i-Azam Union. In this video, we are going to talk about Quaid-i-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah's views about governance of Pakistan. There is very little uh, discussion about what Jinnah wanted Pakistan to be, and for sure, there is only one speech. A few sentences of his speech are presented into the public and are shown that Jinnah wanted Pakistan to be a secular state. But there is more to this, and there was a very long speech. Not only this, but there were multiple speeches by Muhammad Ali Jinnah before and after the creation of Pakistan about what he wanted a new state to be and what would be that state look like. So, first of all, we must define what is governance. Governance is basically the state of making policies regarding the management and public administration of the state or any country. So, governance is basically broader term used to reflect the working mechanism of state, how state works, what is the constitution of state, how its institutions are formed, how these institutions work. All these things encompass governance. So governance is a pretty huge term that cannot encompass a single definition. So in this way, we can say that governance include all the function of state, whether these are legislative, these are administrative, or these are political or defense related. So it encompasses everything that is related to the affairs of state. So to move toward the views of Muhammad Ali Jinnah about the governance of Pakistan, firstly I would move toward the speech that was made on 11th of August 1947, in which Jinnah elaborated his views that what kind of state Pakistan is going to be. So there is much confusion about this, that people pick up few sentences that suit them, and then they label Jinnah that Jinnah is wanting this kind of Pakistan. So Jinnah suits everybody in Pakistan, whether these are liberals, these are conservatives, these are progressives, these are traditionalists. Even ulama can, pick up statements of Jinnah about the affairs of state, and they can say anything that Jinnah wanted to Pakistan. And Dr. Israr Ahmad is foremost proponent of Jinnah's views about Islamic State. And well, there is confusion about what Islamic State is, so all these things must be clarified. Islamic State doesn't mean a theocratic state. First and foremost thing is this, that Islamic State has nothing to do with theocracy. What what comes around the mind of these ulama is pretty misconceptions that Islamic states means state ruled by religious leaders. This is not an Islamic state. Even the most of the pious and most brilliant statesmen in Islamic history were never the religious leaders. You can see many examples. Umar was not very well versed in religion. He managed states very efficiently. He was one of the most greatest statesmen of his time. Similarly, there were many others. Salahuddin Ayyubi wasn't a religious man. He doesn't knew the Sharia. He doesn't knew the full in-depth knowledge of Sharia. In fact, he was a pious man, but he was not a religious scholar. There were multiple examples. Sultan Mehmed II, who conquered Constantinople, he wasn't a religious man. In fact, he liked to read history, and we can say him a great historian rather than a religious scholar. So there were multiple examples that these states who we want to copy were never the states ruled by religious scholars. And to quote here one of the brilliant example is modern day Saudi Arabia. Mohammed bin Salman is a brilliant statesman. For sure, he is autocratic. That's up to him. Saudi Arabia always, you know, all these things, environment, the nature of people, all these things affect the mentality of people, and that's why it's the nature that defines what kind of state that's gonna be. And Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and all these countries who lie in these temperate zones are always under the rulers who were autocratic, because the nature of people demands an autocratic ruler. Now, first of all, what Jinnah thought about Pakistan to be and what type of constitution he wanted. To quote his speech on 11th August 1947, Jinnah elaborated his general concept about Pakistan. He says that he addresses the Parliament Constituent Assembly at that time, and he addresses them in a very cool and calm composure, and asks them to realize what they are going to be. He says that you are the sovereign legislative body, you are going to make a constitution, and you are going to work as a federal legislator. And remember that you are only sovereign body. So, what is sovereign body? He is referring again and again, and why he is asking them that it is your responsibility to act as a federal legislator. It's your responsibility to make laws about the country. First and foremost, Jinnah believed in an electoral democracy. He was firm supporter of parliamentary democracy. Of course, for the time being, he liked Pakistan to be central state due to certain reasons that we would discuss later. He wanted the assembly to be sovereign body and no one can intervene in the affairs of that assembly. So what Jinnah is referring here, that the people who are elected by the people, who are representing people, the representative who are elected by the people and are representing people, are the sovereign body that would act as a federal legislator. Along with that, they would make constitution, and that constitution must be approved by constituent assembly. Here, Jinnah is referring that only the sovereign body in the country always would be assembly of the people, elected assembly. The assembly that would be elected by the people, genuine elected by the people, not like current assembly which is elected by Form 47. No, Quaid-i-Azam was referring to the assembly that would be elected by the people, and these representative then would define the constitution of Pakistan. They would act as a sovereign of Pakistan, and no one is going to interfere in the affairs of constituent assembly. First and foremost, views of Jinnah on the governance can be taken as that Jinnah considered National Assembly to be sovereign body of the country, and this assembly has a right to make laws for the country, not any other institution. This was the first principle of Muhammad Ali Jinnah about governance, that governance policies would always be made by elected representatives of the people. No other institution, whether bureaucratic, military, or any kind of institution working in Pakistan, would not interfere in the affairs of this assembly. And apart from that, there is another quotation from the speech that, look, you are free to go to your temples, you are free to go to your mosque, you are free to go to anywhere where you want to go. That has nothing to do with the business of state. And in the course of time, you will see that Hindus will cease to be Hindus, Muslims would cease to be Muslims, not in a personal sense, but as a citizen of state. So this is claimed to be a secular statement. That's absolute nonsense interpretation that Jinnah was referring to a country that would be secular and there would be no Islamic law and there would be no Islamic principles. That is absolute nonsense. I would refer here to the speech of Holy Prophet at the time of Khutbah Hijjatul Wada, the last sermon by the Holy Prophet, in which he said that if uh, you are going to negate the rights of other people, I would be against you. There is another hadith: if you are going to tease minorities, you will find Holy Prophet against them on the day of judgment. So Jinnah's speech isn't liberal. It's firmly rooted in Islamic principle of equality and fraternity and respect for minorities. Jinnah didn't say that, look, we are going to be a secular state with no religion. He didn't said that. He always said that Pakistan's constitution would be based on Islamic principles. Now, if we look further toward this, what he meant by Islamic principles is again misinterpreted by the another sector of society, that are ulama. A constitution that is inspired by Islamic principle doesn't mean a theocratic or clergy like a constitution that happened in medieval Europe where church ruled the state. Because Islamic political system, Islamic religious principles are firmly rooted in equality and equal rights for people. Islam is religion for all people, not for Muslim. Islam is for all people. Holy Prophet was Rahmatul Alamin. He was for all the humanity. So Islamic laws gave equality, protection, and all the rights that citizens need to anybody and everybody. Now, one must look that Pakistan thinks that, there is another misinterpretation that we think that Islamic principles mean amputation of hand or killing person when he hurts other. This penal interpretation of Islam is highly wrong. It's it's a grave error to interpret Islam in the way of penal code. It is also, the same thing was said by Iqbal Ahmad, who is foremost scholar in the 20th century from Pakistan. He said that Muslims think that Islam is a penal code, just a penal code, where you can see the punishment of amputation of hands and amputation of one's head from the body. That is not Islam only. Islam is a vast religion. It encompasses everything. It even gives rights to the natural things that are not, uh, you can say, any natural thing. Like trees. Islam gives right to trees. Holy Prophet has, strictly asked when he sent Sahaba companions to any campaign that do not hurt trees, do not hurt living things. So Islam gives rights to anything. So this kind of thinking that Islam is only penal code is highly um, uh, misjudged and misinterpreted. Now, Jinnah's speech was clear and concise. He was referring to Islamic principles, and Islamic principles are equal for everybody. Islam allows anybody to worship in their places. They can go to their synagogues, they can go to their temples, churches, whatever they things have. Even a Christian missionary mission came to Holy Prophet, and Holy Prophet allowed them to perform their religious rituals in Masjid Nabawi. So there is no restriction on minorities in Islamic State to perform their whatever religious duties are. So Jinnah was accurate. He was referring to Islamic State that was inspired from the principles of Quran, Sunnah, and Holy Prophet. And there is no need to misinterpret in the way that, Quaid-i-Azam was referring to uh, Pakistan, that would be secular like Western countries, where there would be no kind of morality, ethics, and all those stuff. Now we move toward another system which Jinnah firmly believed that this would protect the state of order, the state of Pakistan. He liked the system of British bureaucracy, and he was the foremost proponent of inclusion of Indians into British bureaucracy. Jinnah was the first person to call out British that you have to conduct examination in India because India have negligible representation in Indian administrative services in 1916, I guess. So Jinnah was the first one to call British to include Indians in the Indian civil services, and these civil services were very efficient before the partition, and British maintained a great state of order with them. So Jinnah wanted to keep and retain that bureaucracy, and this bureaucracy would be based on competitive system. Jinnah believed that those who are above average intellect must compete with each other, and those who pass this examination are not ordinary individuals, and they can serve the people. They can be hands and feet of the state. They can be operating orders of state. So Jinnah was firmly in favor of competitive bureaucracy. Of course, he also called for quota system for aggrieved parties. In the first 1948, he maintained quota of 14%, I guess, for the community of untouchables. So, scheduled caste and untouchables. So, Jinnah was firmly in favor of giving rights for those who are left behind in education, but he firmly believed in merit in bureaucracy and bureaucratic appointment because these bureaucrats are the backbone of any country. In speech to bureaucrats and civil officers in Peshawar, Jinnah outlined their role in the state because Jinnah saw that there are multiple uh, parties are emerging in Pakistan, and every bureaucrats want to have a good position in the government, so they are aligning with the parties. So Jinnah addressed them firmly and ordered them that you are the servant of state, you are the servant of people, you are not going to be affiliated with any party. Parties come and go, but the servant of states live. You live on. So you must work. You must work for the state. You have nothing to do with parties. One government would come, another would go. So this has nothing to do with your business. You have to work for the people. You are the servant of state. So Jinnah considered bureaucrats, civil servants as the servants of people. But now we are looking that everyone who becomes part of civilian bureaucracy becomes a ruler of the state rather than servant of state. So this is against Jinnah's principle. One must read what Jinnah wanted civil servants to be. He wanted them to be the servants of people. He doesn't. He didn't want them to be part of party politics that now every major civil servant is for the promotion, for the better placement, for the better transfers and etc. So Jinnah was very firm. He had very firm conviction that civil servants are backbone of state and they must not intervene in political affairs, and politics vice versa should not intervene in bureaucratic affairs. Apart from that, Jinnah also addressed the defense officials, and his address to defense officials were very, very important. At Quetta Staff College, when he addressed the officers, a few of the officers which he met, he said that I have met few officials and I have noticed that they don't know the importance of constitution. They don't know the sanctity of constitution. So I must remind you that you have taken oath to constitution of Pakistan, and you don't know what oath you have taken. And I have seen them, a few officers, that they didn't realize the significance of this oath. So let me remind you what is the constitution. So he then reads their oath and tells them that you have nothing to do with politics. You are the servants of government, and orders would not come from some military authority. Orders would come from government officials. Without the permission of executive head, that is governor general, you are not going to take any action. So he made them clear that if your senior officials want them to do something that is against the constitution, you must wait for the order of executive head, governor general, modern day prime minister or president. So Jinnah clarified to defense institutions that there would be civilian supremacy in Pakistan. The civilian people, civilian administrators, civilian government that would be elected by the people through general election and would form the government would be executive of the state, and you have to abide by their orders. So Jinnah was very firm in his belief that armed forces are important part of state, but state should be run by civilian officials. That was another principle of Jinnah about governance. Now, when we come toward a very important factor of women that has been neglected by our state leaders, what Jinnah thought of women. First, he was living example of woman equality. Wherever he went, he has carried his sister with him, and he showed to the world, he showed to the people of Pakistan that look, women are not going to sit in their homes. Women are going to play an important role. And he said at one place that how can you expect a country to progress when half of their population sits home? So that's a genuine thing that if women are not going to work, obviously half of humanity if doesn't work, that would be consequences for state and its people. So Jinnah wanted women to be equal partner in the development of country, and currently Pakistan has only 7% women in the parliament, 8% women in the administration, only 4% I guess in judiciary. So that is very negligible amount. Only 22% workforce in industries, while Bangladesh has almost 85% women in industrial sector. So Jinnah wanted women to be important carriers of growth. He said that no nation can progress if their women cannot work side by side with the men of that country. So Jinnah was very clear about women role in the state, that women needs to have very important role in the affairs of state. And he was very clear that without women, Pakistan cannot progress. So apart from that, another view is of Jinnah about Pakistan, that what kind of constitution Pakistan would have. This is very debatable issue. Still, scholars on Jinnah debate that he wanted presidential system. Some say he wanted parliamentary system. But we must look at the history of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, that what kind of system, even if he wanted, what kind of system that would be. First and foremost, in pre-partition India, Jinnah was the foremost proponent of provincial autonomy. Provincial autonomy at that time meant the subjection of the powers of provinces to themselves, not to center. They must be autonomous from center, and center should have limited role in provinces except for foreign affairs, defense, and currency. And therefore, provincial autonomy was a basic feature Jinnah agreed upon the cabinet mission plan in 1946. Now, some people interpret that Jinnah was foremost proponent of provincial autonomy. But they forget to look at the other dynamics that in pre-partition India and in cabinet mission, Jinnah was foremost proponent of provincial autonomy to get rid of the yoke of Hindus. Because in centrally organized India, Muslim would be subjected to second-rate citizens. And in central government, there would always be majority of Hindus. That's why Jinnah opposed the powers to center. Because if there would be provincial autonomy, the provinces where there is Muslim majority would be free to exercise the powers in their domain without the dominance of Hindus. Now in Pakistan, when he came to Pakistan was going to be a brilliant state. If he had made constitution, of course, that would have been very brilliant constitution. We doesn't know what he proposed, but something has been seen in Jinnah's 1 year career as a statesman of Pakistan. First and foremost, Pakistan was going to be a state that was going to play a major role in international affairs, and that state should have all powers. And in that case, Jinnah clearly mentioned that those who are favoring the provincialism are the enemies of Pakistan, because no, we have created a state. We are free from Hindus. There is no distinction between us. There is no Sindhi, there is no Punjabi, there is no Pathan, there is no Baloch, there is no Bengali. In the course of time, we are all citizens of Pakistan. So, on the basis of same religion, we have no distinction. So, in that case, he wanted a strong center, because the strong center would prevent the hegemony of India, would prevent the threats from India, and it would create a unified state with a single citizenship. That's why at that time Jinnah exercised power in as a governor general when cabinet convention given him all the authorities, and Dan called him Shahenshah of Pakistan. So he acted like an emperor, benevolent emperor, and I guess he wanted to have a system where center would have more powers over provinces, not full powers but more powers. And provinces would have powers because without grassroots powers, no nation can progress. So Jinnah thought that if provinces have powers for the governance of local unit, that is fine. Overall, he wanted a strong center. This is another thing that Jinnah wanted about Pakistan's governance. Now we have seen the ideas of Muhammad Ali Jinnah about governance, about Pakistan. What can be done now? Because we are in a state where there is mixture of everything. We are not a democratic state. We are also not an autocratic state. We are not a civilian dominated state. We are also not a military dominated state. We are not an efficient bureaucratic state. We are also not a failed state. We are not a constitutional state. We are also not a totalitarian state. So we are a mix of everything. We are in a position where we can be anything. Anybody can classify us at any position. So the need of hour is to create a political unity, to end the disharmony and discord between political parties, to reconcile with each other, to end the personal differences for whatever reason. Come to the table for sake of Pakistan. Come to the table to make real Jinnah Pakistan. Forget whatever has been done to Pakistan. Forget who has done what to Pakistan. Forget who is going to do what for Pakistan. Just come and sit, reconcile with each other, define the future of Pakistan and make a unity government for future of Pakistan, because without political unity we are not going to progress, we're not going to develop. This is single most important thing that we at this time need, because we are going to play a very important role at the international stage and we are playing very important role, but there is a simmering hostility of people against the government. This is due to some of the policies of government. Their mandate has been stolen, they don't like it, this is their right, they have right to say, they have right to protest. So to reconcile people, all those leader who has been jailed must be released, and they have also responsibility, just for the sake of Pakistan, for the sake of people, forget what has been done to you and come to the table, talk about issues and make long term plan for Pakistan. We are approaching a centenary of Pakistan, just 20 years away. Make 10 to 15-year plan that we are going to make Pakistan a 1 trillion economy in the next decade, and we can. We are still at 410 billion and we can move gradually toward 1 trillion. So there is grave need for politicians to come to the table for Jinnah's Pakistan. Without coming to the table, discussing the issues, forgetting the political differences, uniting against the enemies of terrorism, the enemy of India, uniting for people of Kashmir, uniting against the oppression that has been caused in the Middle East, would only make Pakistan stronger. Without political unity, we cannot bring economic progress. That's why it is need of hour to heed to Jinnah's advices on the governance, to create a constitutional government, to create a civilian bureaucratic setup that is competitive, to create a system of merit and meritocracy, to bring the government that is elected by the people, to allow political freedom, to create a strong center and create a single identity that is Pakistani, and end the seeds of provincialism. To create a strong Pakistan, we also need to act firmly against terrorism. Whoever is responsible for terrorism, now is the time to act. We have lost many lives, 92,000 people have been lost. So we must unite for Pakistan. We must unite for Jinnah's Pakistan. Without unity, Jinnah's Pakistan is foregone conclusion. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.